In this lesson, we'll learn what multi-state objects are and how we can incorporate them into our interactive projects. Alright, so with this lesson, we're marking the beginning of our journey into Flash output interactivity. So if you're looking for interactivity that you can apply to your interactive PDFs, you're going to need to go back a few lessons, because from here on out, we're just looking at options that are available for Flash output. So with that said, let's go ahead and come over here. We're going to navigate to page 2 in our document, and if you want, go ahead and load up the lesson 12_begin project file, because I've added a few more images behind this one here. You can see those there. There's a total of 6 images there, and we're going to be using these to create our first multi-state object. Now, you may be wondering, what exactly is a multi-state object? Well, an easy way to look at a multi-state object is just sort of a hybrid of a group of objects. And I'll show you exactly what I mean here in just a moment. We control, create, and manage our multi-state objects here from the Object States panel. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and discuss kind of what we're going to be doing. We're going to be creating a slideshow here, and what I'd like to happen is when we click on this button down here, I'd like the image to change as well as the caption over here. So we're going to use our multi-state object to control this. We'll go ahead and select our warrior image. I'll hold shift and select the warrior within caption down here to the right. And we're just about ready to create our first multi-state object. Now, we can create this multi-state object out of multiple objects or even groups of objects. So let me show you what happens if I create the multi-state object with just these 2 different objects selected. I'll hit that new multi-state object button, and we get 2 completely different object states here. We get one object state for our caption and one for the image. I don't want that, so let's undo that here. I'm going to group these 2 objects together first with a Control-G. Now with that done, we'll come over here and create a multi-state object. And you can see here that initially it creates a state 1 as well as a state 2 for us. Now the contents are exactly the same on those 2 states. The first thing we want to make sure we do is name our multi-state object. I'm just going to call this one Intro Images. And I'll hit enter. That way we know exactly what we're referring to when we go to link this multi-state object up to buttons. So let's go ahead and take a look here in the layers panel. Because I have all this information layered right on top of itself, it's going to be easier to select information right here from the layers panel. You'll see here at the top, my intro images is my multi-state object. If I twirl that down, all that we see right now is state 2. It's because I have state 2 selected here. If we come in and select state 1, that will change for us. So every multi-state object must have at least 2 states. That's why we have 2 duplicate states here. Let's go about adding our second image and caption to state 2. I'll come over here and select the kitchen.psd image and hold shift and select the caption above that. There we've got both of them selected. I'll go ahead and group those together with a Control-G. And then I'm going to cut those with a Control-X. So they're now copied to my clipboard. And now if I select this multi-state object, I can come in and select state 2. And then this button right here will paste the contents of my clipboard into that state. And you can see here that it appears to have replaced the objects that were in that state to begin with. Now, I say replaced, but that's not entirely true. Let's come over here and twirl down state 2 and look at what's inside of it here. Now, we have a group. If we look inside the group, you can see my kitchen caption and my kitchen image, but we've also still got the warrior image and the warrior caption in there. So it's really just basically put those right on top of the previous contents of that state. Let's go ahead and delete those contents now. I'll delete the warrior caption. We'll undo that here, make sure that I have the correct layer selected. State 2, there we go. We'll select both those 2 layers right there and delete those. So now what we're left with here is a state 2 that only has the kitchen image in it. Now, granted, this is one way we could go about creating this multi-state object, but with an object that's going to have 6 different states in it, and each state's going to have 2 grouped objects together, it's not the best way to create it. Let me undo back a few steps. I'm just going to go ahead and undo back to the point where we haven't even created this multi-state object. Alright, great. So now we're back at the beginning. We haven't even made the multi-state object yet. So let's go about the process of grouping together our captions and our images. I'm going to go ahead and select those two, group those together. There we go. I'll select the next two, group those together. We're just going to repeat this process for all 6 image caption combos here. And there is our 6th one. Alright, great. So we've got all 6 groups here now. So at this point, I can just come up here and let's just drag a marquee selection around all the images, and that'll get us all the captions as well. Now when we create a new multi-state object, look what happens. It creates states for us for each of the 6 images and captions here. So I don't have to worry about moving information in and out of states. It's all created for us. Now let me go ahead and name this multi-state object again. We'll call it Intro Images. And let's talk a little bit about editing states within a multi-state object. So right now I have state 1 selected. You can see it here. If I click on it, we get this little icon indicating it's selected. So with that state selected, we can actually come over here, double click on it, and select the individual objects within that state if we need to make changes to them or reposition them in any way. So we can actually make changes to individual states here. So and if we click on the different states, you can also see that we can kind of cycle through the multi-state object. Now, if you're really not enjoying the default naming scheme for the different states, you can actually come in and rename these. Let me go ahead and I'll triple click on the name here for state 1. And you can see that we're able to actually rename the different states as well. I'm okay with this naming convention for right now. What I'd like to do at this point is show you how to release this multi-state object into normal objects. So we have some options here. Let me just come to the panel flyout menu. Notice that we have new state and delete state options here, but we also have a hidden until triggered option, very similar to the option that's available to us for buttons. We can paste into state, but we can release this particular selected state to objects, which will take only this state out of the multi-state object, or we can release all states of this multi-state object to their own separate objects. I'm not going to do either one of those right now. I actually want to leave them exactly where they're at. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump over here and let's work on our button just a little bit. I'm going to come in, zoom in down here on this button. There it is. I may actually make a hotspot for that later on, but let's go ahead and jump to the buttons panel. You can see I've named it Intro-Next Caption, and it has both a normal and a rollover state here. So all I'm going to do at this point is let's go ahead and on release, let's add an action. And I'm going to jump down here to the Swift only actions, and we're going to choose to go to the next state. Now when I choose that, it gives me an object selection box here, and you can see here that Intro Images, which is the name for my multi-state object, pops up here. If we had multiple multi-state objects, we could choose that by dropping this arrow down, and we can also tell it that I want it to stop at the last state. I don't want it to do that. I want it to be able to loop. So we're just going to say Intro Images, go to the next state. And we'll go ahead and hide our buttons panel for right now. So this should do it. Let's go ahead and preview our multi-state object in action here. We'll hit Control-Shift-Enter. And we'll just mouse over this button. You can see our rollovers working. And we're able to go to each new state. Notice that not only the image changes, but the caption down below also changes. Pretty cool, huh? I tell you what, let's go ahead and close the preview panel now. And in the next lesson, I want to work with multi-state objects just a little bit more. We're actually going to be using them on the next page, page 3, to display large images of these preview thumbnails over to the left. So in the next lesson, again, we'll continue exploring multi-state objects.